Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? Eleanor?
Yes, just to declare an interest in item number 15 as a member of the Norfolk Wildlife Trust.
Yes, in that basis, I think I may declare an interest also.
Yeah.
Anybody else belong to the Wildlife Trust? No? Okay, thank you. Lucy, can we have apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillors Bailey, Catchpole, Lisa Starling, Tipple, Tovell, Mancini-Boyle, Clancy, Jones, Murrell and Kelly.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I'd like you to note under item 3 minutes of the council meeting held on the 22nd of May, and I would ask you to to indicate by show of hands if you're happy to approve those minutes, please. Thank you. That's passed. Are there any matters arising from those minutes? No, thank you. We also have the minutes of committee meetings to note from overview and scrutiny, cabinet and planning. Thank you. And announcements. I have one announcement I'd like to read out with my planning hat on. I'm absolutely thrilled to hear that the Greater Norwich Local Plan has been awarded Best Plan of the Year at the RTPI East of England Awards. This is a truly well-deserved recognition of the dedication, innovation and collaborative spirit shown by the planning teams at Broadland, South Norfolk and Norwich City Council. A special commendation also goes to the Broadland and South Norfolk planning team for the highly commended in the Planning Team of the Year category, an outstanding testament to your professionalism and vision. Well done to everyone involved. We don't have the Vice Chair here, so I'm going to ask the leader, do you have any announcements, please?
Not this time.
Okay. Any members of the Cabinet have any announcements? Natasha.
Yeah, a couple from me. First of all, just want to draw everyone's attention, in case you missed it, to the bomb scare yesterday in Sproulston, which turned out to not be a bomb. Thankfully, possibly an old lamppost. Bit of a downgrade. But what I really want to do is draw everyone's attention to how well the operation ran. There was a rest centre set up in the Diamond Centre. Broadland staff communicated excellently with other councillors, the police, the bomb squad. It was a really well-run operation, so I just want to thank everybody involved, and should there be, hopefully not, but something similar happen that is actually real, I have every confidence that it will be run really well, and the people there, when I went down to the Diamond Centre, were very happy with their tea and biscuits, so it was great. And my second one is less good. As you know, it's Norwich Pride on Saturday, and we, as a council, raised the pride flag, albeit indoors rather than outside as you would normally. And I've been really disappointed to see a huge amount of very negative comments across all forms of social media platforms. I mean, there's always a little bit when there are pride flags that seem to trigger people for some reason. I don't know why rainbows are so offensive to some people, but there you go. But on this occasion, it's not just the volume of nasty comments, it's the levels of depravity, which I know other councillors have also seen. It was quite disgusting. So I just want to make a point to, if any members of the LGBTQ+ community have seen those comments across various platforms, that we, as a council, absolutely stand in solidarity with the community. We do not tolerate hate speech of any kind. Whether you are a resident, an employee or a councillor, you are welcome. We will do our best to look after you, and it will not be tolerated here. I will be at Pride. You're welcome to join me, and you'll be made welcome by the whole Pride parade. So thank you.
Thank you, Natasha, for that. Anybody else from the Cabinet have any? No? Managing Director, do you have an
Chair, just a couple if I can, please. First off, to let members know that Nick Howard has decided to seek pastures greener, so he's left the council. And in other news, we, two members of the team, Phil Butler and Kerry Gallagher, were instrumental in organising the Norfolk Public Sector Challenge, which took place a week Friday gone, which has raised so far in excess of £12,000 to support Norwich City Community Sports Foundation. So I thought that was worth bringing to your attention. Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that. We have no questions, we have no public speaking, so we'll go straight on to recommendations from the Cabinet meetings held on the 17th of June and the 22nd of July. 8A is the Strategic Performance and Risk Report for quarter 24-25, and I'm going to invite Councillor Riley to present the recommendations from the Cabinet.
Thank you, Chair. Cabinet on the 17th of June received a Strategic Performance and Risk Report for quarter 4 for 24-25. I'm pleased to report that the Council performance remains very strong, with 21 out of 26 performance indicators meeting or exceeding targets for the year. It's good practice to regularly review and update our strategic performance measures. Therefore, as detailed in paragraph 21 of the Cabinet report on page 42 of the Council agenda, it is now proposed to introduce 3 new measures. Measure 34, temporary accommodation occupancy level target to be 85% or higher. Measure 35, number of households in temporary accommodation, no target to be set as we will monitor this as in the context to help and understand performance against other housing targets. Measure 36, contamination rate in household waste recycle target to be lowered to 15%. These measures will help us better monitor our performance rates, temporary accommodation and recycle rates. The only recommendation here for a determination by the Council, as I understand it from governance, is actually the recommendation, is actually to approve the proposed strategic performance changes detailed in 29 and to endorse performance quarter 4 as detailed in Appendix 1 and to endorse the current position with respect to risk management, the group of proposed changes. Happy to propose that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Do you have a seconder, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Do you wish to speak now or reserve the right? Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite questions from members. Jonathan, please.
Yeah, at overview and scrutiny, recommendation 1, it was agreed that we would note the report. My feeling is this should be what should be done on the grounds that if you look at page 40, the 2.3, we have performance against target is assessed as green for meeting target or when there is no target. And then 2.4 says, consistently not meeting targets, escalation required or escalation needed. None this quarter. But then if you turn to page 49, we have 7 measures without a target. All economic development, which is a strange thing because obviously you'd want to be targeting how you are working with your businesses. So I feel that we should note this report because we are saying that it's hit and target, but if there's so many without target, you're not hitting target. So I feel it should be noted, not endorsed. Thank you. And that I'll put that forward as an amendment to the recommendation. So to note, not to endorse on number 1.
I'm just going to come in on that because actually the recommendations to council this morning is actually only recommendation 3.
Great.
So recommendations 1 and 2 have been dealt with by cabinet. So that proposal and amendment doesn't stand. We're only here to discuss recommendation 3 this evening, which is the proposed strategic performance changes detailed in paragraph 2.4. The rest of the business has been discharged. 2.9, sorry.
Sorry.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so on the papers here, it clearly says there's 3 recommendations. So are we saying there's only 1 recommendation?
So just to clarify, you have before you the reports that went to Cabinet. Cabinet discharged recommendations 1 and 2 because you have the Cabinet report in front of you. The only recommendation that comes through, it's because we provide the full Cabinet reports in your papers. Cabinet resolved and discharged recommendations 1 and 2. They were Cabinet decisions. Recommendation 3 is clear to recommend to Council. That's where it's the only one you're discussing this evening.
Does it make a difference that 1 and 2 says to endorse and the other one says to recommend?
No.
No?
No.
Because it's Cabinet paper.
Okay. Okay. Peter, please.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just ask Councillor Riley, with regarding measure 36, what the current contamination rate is, please, because I somehow have missed that, and how would we achieve this target of lower than 15%, please? Thank you.
Page 36. 42. Where are we? Measure 36. So could you just refer to the index number there? Oh, I see. Measure 36, contamination rate in household waste recycled, targets be lower than 15%. You're saying what is the actual current rate? I personally don't know that off the top of my head. I've got the environmental portfolio. I don't know if he does.
I can't tell you right off the top of my head, I'm afraid, and maybe we can give it to you afterwards. Yeah, but certainly in terms of our across the Norfolk Waste Partnership, we're constantly looking at how we promote recycling, and so there will be ongoing, education and awareness raising on that to try and get the contamination down. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions? Councillor Cobblestone.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really disappointed in the new format of this strategic performance report for Q4. I think it doesn't give members as much detail as we had previously. It's very difficult to see. I mean, it says higher is better on the one I'm looking at, which is measure 20 on page 84, business survival rate, and that is obviously going down. Business survival rate is declining. It was at 94% in 2017, which is very, very disappointing, and it's still marked as the RAG rating of green. So I just want to bring that up, and I agree with Councillor Weinmark. Cabinet is asking us to approve this. I don't think I do approve of some of these measures and how it's all laid out. It's very difficult to read, and I think we should just note the report. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Emsall, next, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we've just had 2 of the Cabinet talk about measure 36, the target of 15% or lower. At some point, you'd think in the last couple of months, talk would have been about we're going to set a new target. Therefore, you would have talked about the figures. For both of them to say they don't know what the figure is, even though they've just set a target to be lower than 15%, surely they must know what the target is because they've decided to set it for 15%. So I think if they're unaware of what the current figures are, then they've obviously set I just don't see how you can not know what the target is if you've been talking about this in the last couple of months. But moving on from that, can we, instead of recommendation 3, can we note the report as opposed to recommend to Council to approve? Or with that, because that's recommendation 3. So can we note it in recommendation 3 instead of recommendation 1 that we thought we were voting on?
No.
I'm just going to be really, really clear with members. You have before you the full Cabinet report. Recommendations 1 and 2 were discharged by Cabinet. They're not for discussion, they're not for debate this evening. Before you, you have recommendation 3, which is the proposed performance changes detailed in paragraph 2.9. So if you go to paragraph 2.9, that starts at the top of page 41 into 42, what you are being asked for council tonight is, do you approve the changes to those new measures in line with the strategic performance measures? That is simply what you're being asked this evening. If you were to ask my opinion, Councillor Empsall, on approve and to note, then it's semantics, and I would argue it is the same thing.
Thank you. I'll take your advice on that.
Councillor Waymark, you had a question?
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. I mean, once again, as I say, my problem here, I know that we're only talking about this 2.9 now, but once again, there's no targets. I mean, the description here of a green, something which is green, is that basically, if there's no measure being set, then we've got to take it. It's green, and that doesn't seem right at all. Surely we should be setting targets. So I think we should have a target for everything, really. We can't just say, oh, we won't set a target, so that means it's green. In anyone else's world, that wouldn't be okay. And we said that at ONS, and we agreed wholeheartedly, well, everyone, it was unanimous, ONS, that wasn't okay. So I just want it to be noted, really, that we should have a target for every single measure so that we can actually see if it's improving or not, as the case may be. If it's improving, fantastic. But we can't just say it's green and it's okay because we haven't got a target. So let's put targets in place. That's all I would argue. We'll put targets in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waymark. Anybody else have any comments? Okay, so I'm going to invite Sue to respond.
Thank you. Yes, I've got a couple of things. So the recycling, the soil contamination rate in household waste, that's a new target. So there isn't an existing target. So 15% is what we're aiming for. And the way we are hoping to disseminate that information is you'll probably see on our social media, we're putting a lot more posts out, we're advertising this, we're telling parish councils, etc. It's really important that people understand how to manage their waste, because we do get stuff in recycling that's damp or whatever, and therefore it downgrades us. So we are trying to make sure that that gets across, and this is a new measure, so that's why there isn't an existing target to see. As far as some of the other things are concerned, we do have items on here which don't have a target. Some of those are things which we agreed were not really strategic risks, but we wanted to keep a monitoring on them, so we were aware that they're there. So that's part of the reason for some of that to happen. I'm actually very happy with the way this is laid out and the things that we've got in it. I think it's much easier to understand, and I think it's really clear where we have got issues and what we're looking for. And I genuinely feel it's much easier to identify. And I would have to dispute the complaint that there isn't enough information, because I too can look at page 84 and see that we've got a 90-something% on it. So I don't think we're actually giving you less information. If you go through this report, there is loads of information in there, and I would actually say it is much clearer to understand and gives you much more useful information that we can actually work on. So I'm more than happy to propose to second this recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councillor Riley if you have anything further to say.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, Sue's just covered the number of the points, actually. And in terms of the new measure, which is really what 2.9 is about, introducing those and agreeing those, I'm aware, actually, I've just been trawling my mind, I am aware when a lot of this is set up, of course, associated with a temporary accommodation. I'm actually being very helpful here, Chair, as well, in what I'm about to say, rather than belligerent. And I know Sue wasn't belligerent either. But when we set up that temporary accommodation, there had to be estimates around what we believe the occupancy levels would be associated with that. We've exceeded those original estimates, which were around about 80%. So you can see with this target here, it's actually an improvement over what we were estimating at that time. and the reason why it's a new measure is because we've now established it. So that level of detail, Councillor Emsall, has actually come back into focus. However, I would say if you look at the thousands of words associated, I'm sure Chair of Audit would confirm this as well, to expect anybody to go down to a figure and a number in that is actually preposterous thing to suggest that we should just have that at fingertips. But I think I've covered that point quite well now, actually, Chair. And I also know that audits, when they've looked at the new way of laying this out and the way that we're now prescribing this, the Chair certainly endorsed the fact that this is actually a lot clearer than what it was before and a lot more concise in the way we're now presenting. I know that as the portfolio holder working with Sue as well in terms of performance, we're finding it much easier as well to focus as well. So I don't think that the comments that have been made are really relevant. And I did say at the beginning the consideration for the council is actually 2.9 in terms of a recommendation. I think I might have muddled that a bit by then mentioning the endorsed, but I should have said that was actually cabinet. So I'll take that one away. But it was referenced to me, the only recommendation is 2.9 originally. But anyway, yeah, so 3, recommend to the council approve post-strategic management changes as detailed, those additions, and recommend them to the council, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. I'd like to refer members to the recommendations and ask you to vote for, and then which are to approve the proposed strategic performance changes detailed in paragraph 2.9. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Anybody against? No, thank you. Right, we'll move on to 8B, adoption of custom and self-build housing supplementary planning document. And I invite Councillor Roper to present the recommendations from the Cabinet.
Thank you. I think I can do this quite briefly. Broadland's got a long history of welcoming and encouraging custom and self-build properties within the district. And in fact, this is contained within the GNLP. The purpose of this additional SPD is to support and help people who want to look at custom and self-build, certainly not to hinder them. And it's been out to widespread consultation, and I hope you'll adopt it today.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Stuart, thank you. Stuart Beadle. Would you like to speak now or reserve the right?
I'll reserve the right, please.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite questions or comments from members, please. Nobody? Okay. Stuart, would you like to say something? Stuart, can you put your microphone on, please?
Good job you can't lip read. Thank you, Chair. I was invited by the current portfolio holder for me to second this, and I'm very pleased to do so, as I was portfolio holder when most of the work was done. And I'd like to thank all the officers and all the team for all the work they've done on this, because although it's more or less an update and a tweak here and there to make it more user-friendly and more helpful to applicants, nevertheless that work still has to be done. So I'm very pleased to second this, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Roper, do you have anything else to say?
I think Councillor Beadle has said it all.
Okay, thank you. Refer members to the recommendations. I'm not going to read them all out. You've got them on your documents as 1 and 2. And I would ask you to vote for or against. So all those in favour, please. Thank you. I think that's unanimous, isn't it? Yeah. Right, 8C, Public Spaces Protection Order Renewal, dog fouling. I'm going to invite Councillor Davis to speak about dog fouling.
Thank you, Chair. Is there a time limit on this? I'd like, a PSPO is the principal measure available to councils to combat dog fouling. by responsible dog owners, and this current PSPO was made in 2022, applying to the whole administrative area of Broadland for the maximum period of 3 years, and requires the person in control of a dog to clean up after it when it fouls in a public space and to dispose of the deposit in a suitable waste disposal receptacle. There are exemptions for people who are blind, deaf, or with disabilities and so on, that's included within the PSPO. So I'd like to propose that we accept this, to note the contents of this report, and to recommend to Council to make the renewal of the PSPO with the addition of limited dog control by excluding dogs from enclosed play areas for children, which was specifically requested by parish and town councils. The PSPO to be extended for a further 3 years, being the maximum period permitted under the Act.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Steve Riley? Okay. Do you want to speak now, Steve, or reserve the right?
I'll reserve.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from members, please? No? Thank you. Steve, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, just to say, I think also this is a really good example of consultation working. I know us as councillors across the political spectrum, in terms of some consultations that occur from government or sometimes from another body, which I won't mention, within Norfolk. People feel quite frustrated when consultations don't result in the majority of views that have come through. Actually, this one actually has been very pointed. Views that were raised were very valid, and there is a key issue in terms of children's health and safety. People may pick up feces within closed play areas. However, the scientific evidence is that there is surface contamination from that, not just in terms of several bacteria which are highly dangerous to small children, but also in terms of parasites, and there's one in particular which can live on grass and in the earth and cause blindness within young children. There are a few cases every year, not necessarily in children's play areas, but it exists. So for those reasons, you can see in the order and the reasons given that those are the reasons for it. It's also noticeable that a number of other councils have these already in place. I believe South Norfolk already had in place from previous consultation. So this will be very much welcomed, and I've got no doubt this will protect some children as we move forward over the years that would otherwise become ill and maybe seriously ill. So yes, thank you. Yeah. What you trying to say?
Thank you. Councillor Davis, is there anything else you wish to say?
No, sorry. Endorse what Councillor O'Reilly has said. It has had good public consultation and lots of discussion. I think there's widespread public support for this measure.
Councillor Gurney.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I was at this meeting. It was very interesting cross-party conversation and debate. I think one of the other issues that's come out of this, which isn't reported here, is our concern for residents who were taking large volumes of waste debris in carrier bags to dog bins and filling them up. My own experience of one not far from my home is where people who come out of catchment bring their children to a school near me, and one of the first things they do is they open the car boot and they bring out a large bag of fecal waste from their dog or their cat from their own residential property and put it into the bin, and this causes a lot of overfilling in the bins in my particular community, and I'm sure it's happening elsewhere. And I did ask at this meeting that we try to promote the fact that you can actually double bag this waste product and put it in the green bin. And this is something that I would like, obviously, some assurance. And I know that the portfolio holder who was there did give us assurance, but I feel this is an important message that we need to have along with this new order, is that you can do this, and this will actually mean that the bins around our parishes do not fill up quite as quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gurney. I do agree with you in that respect. We had the same problem in Tavorham. Right, we're going to go to the vote. Do you have the recommendations before you? All those in favour, please. Thank you. Looks unanimous. Right, moving on to 8D, Annual Treasury Review Report 24-25. Invite Councillor Riley again to present the recommendations for Cabinet.
Thank you, Chair. Given the value and importance of Treasury management decisions, it is a requirement that annual Treasury management report is presented to full Council. The Treasury management report for 24-25 was considered by Cabinet on 22nd of July and has now been brought forward to full Council tonight. And at the end of March 25, the Council had almost £50 million invested, and over the year we have earned 1.775 million, which helps financially support us to deliver services to our residents. I'm pleased to be able to report that we fully complied with our Treasury management strategy and have fully complied with our agreed prudential indicators. And I therefore, Chair, recommend that the Council note the Treasury activity and the 24-25 prudential indicators as indicated in the recommendation under 1 and 2, to be absolutely precise.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Sue? Yeah. Thank you. Do you wish to speak now? Okay. Do we have any questions from the members, please? No? Thank you. Sue, would you like to? Oh, Tony, yeah. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add that I will be submitting a report very shortly to the Section 151 officer and the portfolio holder regarding our investment in 91 holding. My initial findings show that that investment has actually latterly improved over the last year and is beginning to bear fruit in line with what is expected of it. Nonetheless, my report will show some recommendations, will contain some recommendations in order to formalise what we are looking for from that investment and give us something to aim for so that we can periodically appraise those particular goals to ensure the investment stays in line with what we want it to do. That report will be submitted to the persons named earlier within the next week.
Thank you very much. Sue, did you have anything to say about this as a seconder?
No, I think it's quite pertinent that we monitor this all the time. I think one of those things that we are really interested in is the fact that interest rates are never stable, the fact that there were predictions for it to fall. I think we've actually done the best we can to make sure that we are getting a good grounding across the whole of our portfolio, and so I'm very happy to recommend that we note this report, and it's a very good, we're in a good position.
Thank you. Councillor Riley, any further comments?
No, thanks, Chair. Just to move the recommendation.
Okay. Again, you have the recommendation in front of you as 1 and 2. I'd like to ask you to raise your hand if you're in favour of this. Thank you. That looks unanimous again. Moving on to item 9, the adoption of POSIC with Witton Neighbourhood Plan. Councillor Roper, would you like to present the report, please?
Thank you. As portfolio holder, I'd like to recommend to Council that we adopt this neighbourhood plan. That is subject to it successfully passing the referendum on the 7th of August. We're doing it in a slightly unusual way this time because normally we wait until after the referendums have happened before we adopt a neighbourhood plan. But you'll note from the report there's quite a significant gap between this council meeting and the next council meeting, which is scheduled in October. And POSIC is an area where there is significant development planned to happen quite soon, and it's very much in the interests of the parishes that we get the neighbourhood plan in place as soon as possible. Hence the recommendation worded the way it is, and I'd recommend it to Council, please.
Thank you. Could you have a seconder, please? Eleanor, thank you. Do you wish to speak now or later?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to speak now, if I may. I'm very pleased as the local member for Brundall to see this come forward to Council, Posick is changing in nature from historically being a very rural parish outside Norwich to a mixed one with suburban growth due to the development of the Broadland and the Broadland Gate business parks and also the Oaks housing development. And this plan recognises the need to integrate these new developments and supports a high standard of design, protecting the environment by recommending better sustainable transport connections in the parish and also promoting biodiversity. It also addresses employment development, proposals for local green spaces, community facilities, and assessment of the impact of development on nearby protected sites, such as the Broad Special Area of Conservation. This plan has been written taking community consultation, engagement and representations into account, and as has been mentioned in the report, is due to go soon to referendum on the 7th of August. I know that a lot of work has been put into the production of this plan on the part of volunteers, which is very much appreciated. And I would also like to thank the council officers at Broadland and also at the Broads Authority who have assisted in progressing this plan very quickly through its stages. The plan provides a positive, sustainable vision for the future of Posick with Witton, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from Councillor Gurney. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Perhaps someone could advise. I appreciate this being done a slightly different way round to normal in terms of the statute and the process, but what if we pass it tonight, what happens if it unfortunately happens that the residents actually vote against it? I'm not saying they're going to, but it's just a question. What happens if, because you've not had the resident support of it through a referendum to actually say they agree or they disagree, what happens if we vote for it tonight and then some fluke happens and the residents vote against the plan? What happens then?
I would take advice on the monitoring officer on this, but my very broad assumption would be that that negates the recommendation because it is entirely conditional on the referendum being successful.
Okay, Councillor Nowden, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I naturally support this neighbourhood plan and its adoption. However, if successful in the referendum, is there ever a possibility that somebody could challenge it and say that because the process was of adoption was abnormal, that it could be challenged?
I don't believe so, but I'm going to look to the monitoring officer just to confirm that.
No, whilst it's a different route, the recommendation is really clear. So the recommendation cannot be acted until the local referendum results have been announced. So the recommendation is there and will sit in abeyance until that point.
Councillor Rupert, is there anything else you wish to say?
No, I think we've said it all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll read out the recommendation just to be clear on this. The recommendation is Broadland District Council to agree to adopt the Posick with Witton Neighbourhood Plan on condition that the local referendum scheduled for the 7th of August 25 results in the plan becoming part of the statutory development plan. All those in favour, please. Thank you, that's unanimous. We'll move on to the report of the monitoring officer, and I invite the leader to present the report, please.
Thank you. Yes, the main elements to this really are that following the by-election in April and the resignation of Councillor Nurden from the Conservative Party, this has altered the political balance of the council. So we have recalculated, and this has affected the committee seat allocations. So we have 47 members, and the political balance calculations are based on 45 members who belong to groups with more than one member. Now, group leaders have nominated changes to committee memberships, including replacements on awards, electoral arrangements, licensing committees and environmental excellence. And I should just say that there are some X's in the report under licensing, and I'm happy to confirm that the member that will be sitting on licensing will be Councillor Karimi Guvenlu. So that should cover that one. In a slight addition, and somewhat unusually, Group leaders have been consulted, and the Conservative Party have recommended they are happy to allow Councillor Nurden to keep the seat on Audit Committee, and the rest of the group leaders have agreed they are happy for that also. And also to retain the Vice Chair's position. We do acknowledge that Councillor Nurden has considerable experience in this respect. Now, because this fits outside those proportionality rules, it does make a slight difference. We do have to have a vote. It has to be called it's called a NEMCOM vote, which basically means there can be no member voting against, otherwise that appointment cannot go ahead. So we will be taking these in recommendations, and I'll leave it to the Chair to explain, but we will need to make sure that we all vote for Councillor Nurden in that respect in order that he is able to carry on with those duties. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Dave Thomas? Yeah, thank you. So any comments from members, please? Grant Marwick, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to support what the leader has said about Councillor Nurden. He may no longer be part of the group, but he's a very valued member of the Audit Committee. I think that's important, really, for the council. So I just wanted to 100% support that and thank the other leaders for their support, and hope that everyone here can agree that Councillor Nurden can remain on the Audit Committee, which I know he does a great job on our behalf. So thank you.
Councillor Yusufian first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as the Chair of the Audit Committee, I'd just like to endorse Councillor Wyman's remarks regarding Councillor Nurden, and he's a valuable member of our committee, and I would very much like to see him back as the Vice Chair.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Eden and then Natasha.
I'd just like to add, I've just joined our Audit Committee, and I've been impressed by Councillor Nurden's pertinent questions and really scrutinising everything. He's an extremely useful member.
Well, far be it for me to endorse Councillor Nurden Lovin, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to. Ultimately, we want the best for the council, and we want the best people in the best position, and he has considerable experience, and that's invaluable for this council. So, of course, it's a no-brainer. I endorse that position.
Councillor Nurden.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to thank everyone who's said those kind words, and I will continue to serve my residents and this council to the best of my ability. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you will. Councillor Thomas, do you have anything to say? No? Okay. Sue, do you have anything to say? Follow up?
I don't think there's anything to add. I think we've reached the point where we'll move to those recommendations, if that's all right with everybody.
Okay. We'll go to recommendation 2 first, so the appointment of Councillor Nurden to the Audit Committee. All those in favour, please. Is that unanimous, Lucy? Yep. Great. Okay. We can now go on to recommendations 1, 3 and 4. All those in favour, please. Thank you. That's unanimous again. Fantastic. Right, outside organisations. I understand Councillor Davis has a report on the Broads Internal Drainage Board. I think that's just a note, isn't it?
Well, it is just a note.
Do you wish to say anything?
Information, and I felt it was useful for members to have an update on the Internal Drainage Board, in particular the Broads IDB, given that they're very critical in terms of our water level management, and we do pay a levy towards that, the IDB, and therefore it's important for members to understand how that funding, that special levy, is spent, hence the overview and update on Broads IDB.
Thank you. We'll move on to questions from members. We have a question from Councillor Joe Copplestone. Councillor Copplestone, you have 2 minutes to ask a question, please.
Thank you, Chair. Could the Leader and officers please confirm when they intend to comply with this Supreme Court ruling 2025 UK SC 16 on biological sex and reinstate single-sex toilets at the Horizon Council office, please? Thank you.
I'd like the Leader to respond, so you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to confirm that the current toilet provision in the Horizon office is single-sex toilets. In the employers area where most of the office staff work, we have 2 completely separate sets of toilets, one for men and one for women. In the conference centre, we also actually have self-contained toilet units, which have toilets, individual washing and drying facilities. Those are actually compliant with the law. There may be later legislation, but there is none at the moment. At the moment, that is fully compliant, and those are, I'm perfectly happy that those are working as they should. The officer team regularly monitor all legislation, and they will take the appropriate action where required should anything change from here on.
Councillor Copplestone, do you have a supplementary? You've got 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really disappointed with that response. I've looked at the ruling from the Supreme Court. The background of this case is the Sexual Discrimination Act 1975, and after that, the Equalities Act 2010. It's women who have to go through things like pregnancy and maternity, and I think we should have completely separate sanitary arrangements. We have seen a rise in violence against women and girls, a rise in misogyny, a rise in the incel movement, and I think women's rights need to be protected. So I would ask you, Leader, whether you will change the toilet arrangements so one of the 3 cubicles is for ladies and 1 is for gentlemen. Thank you, Chair.
Sue, can I ask you to respond to that, please?
Well, I really don't understand why you would ask the question. I mean, the fact is those are individual toilet units. They are open to one person to go into, and everything you require is in there. I absolutely understand when people are concerned about these things, and I do accept that for some women, some of these things are very complicated. However, the legal judgment that was made does not affect this, because these toilets are actually self-contained units and are fully compliant. So there is no real reason why we would do anything to change that, I'm afraid. While I accept people's comments, I think we monitor this very carefully, and we will continue to do that because there will be reviews of all of this sort of legislation, and we know that's going on now. So we will keep an eye on it, we will review it, and we will be looking at it. That's as far as we can really realistically go right at the moment. I was going to say this earlier actually, and I forgot. I had got it written down, and I put it is just like County Hall. County Hall, Fran, have exactly the same toilets, don't they? They are single-sex cubicles that you can go to, so it is exactly the same.
We're not here to discuss this, okay? We have a question from Councillor Lacey Douglas.
Thank you, Chair. Could Council have an update on the impacts of the declaration of a climate emergency has had on Broadland in the 2 years since it was called, please?
Councillor Davis, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Douglas. I very welcome the question, very much welcome the question to explain what we are doing in response to the declaration. I hope I can fit my response into the 5 minutes that I'm allocated, because there's a lot to cover. The Council actually declared a climate and biodiversity emergency, recognising the interconnection between climate impacts and nature loss. So it's the two together. Declaring a climate and biodiversity emergency, it signifies the urgent need for action to address climate change and its consequences. It is an emergency. It's a public acknowledgement, which is really important, certainly these days, that the situation is critical and requires immediate large-scale efforts to reduce emissions, carbon emissions, and mitigate the impacts of a changing climate. So the declaration aims to mobilise these resources across the council, build partnerships, because we need to work together, and foster a sense of collective responsibility to tackle the crisis. It's that statement that is important. The original declaration made at the council meeting of July 2023 recognised the dangerous and accelerating effects of unmitigated climate change and ecological destruction for Broadland, but for Norfolk and globally. And we have a part to play as Broadland. Council resolved to act within its limits of its resources and powers and report back regularly on progress, which is what we're doing, as I'll explain later. So since declaring that climate and biodiversity emergency, we're recognised and have built on the measures taken by the previous administration, and recognising that, Broadland District Council has adopted a refreshed climate change, environment and biodiversity delivery plan. Actions from the delivery plan have been accelerated where practical. For example, the verification of our carbon footprint methodology has been completed, the creation of a biodiversity improvement regime for specific council-owned sites is underway, and a survey to identify businesses' main barriers to solar adoption, for example, is currently open to responses. Officers are tracking progress on the delivery plan and will publish progress updates on the website. We've brought forward commitments from the previous environmental strategy and delivery plans, such as continuing the Warm Homes programme to deliver domestic retrofit projects, including ensuring our own temporary accommodation is energy efficient. Promoting the Solar Together group buying scheme for residents, which has been particularly successful this year, and encouraging communities to take proactive steps to improve biodiversity through a small grant scheme to fund biodiversity and green space projects for local communities and parishes. We're currently in the process of adopting a biodiversity strategy to fulfil our statutory obligations under the Environment Act, which we're required to do, which forms a key part of the response to the Council's declaration. The strategy provides a comprehensive framework to enhance biodiversity across our own sites and across the wider district, satisfying the requirements of the Environment Act to provide a legal framework to protect and restore nature in our district. This includes the expansion of, for example, Broadland Country Park to further recover lost nature and enhance biodiversity. There is a neat summary of the environmental strategy progress on the website in a one-pager graphic. Since our baseline survey, baseline year for the Council's carbon footprint it's decreased by 73%, making Broadland District Council the lowest emitting local authority in Norfolk, and we recognise the measures begun under the previous administration and continued under the present administration. This decrease has been achieved through the transition to HVO fuels and the public sector decarbonisation scheme, which funded the heat pumps, as well as through many other smaller decarbonisation projects. Our carbon footprint was independently verified in January 2025 to ensure that we're using the most robust reporting mechanisms possible in line with current best practice. This includes the inclusion of well-to-tank emissions under Scope 3 that accounts for emissions associated with the extraction, processing and transportation of fuels before they are used. So it includes those, all those carbon emissions. And the Council's emissions are published in annual reports on the website, with the 2024-25 report due by the end of the year. So this progress is publicised. To highlight just a few of these actions in a little more detail, working in collaboration with our partners is key to ensuring this consistent action, which has included Norfolk Climate Change Partnership, so guidance for individuals and communities arising from the Net Zero Communities project is now available on the website.
I'm sorry, Councillor Davis, you've run out of time.
Am I out of time?
You're out of time.
Okay, but that collaboration with many other partners as well. Thank you.
Lacey, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Chair. I do. How does the decision not to replace the Ecology, Biodiversity and Tree Manager post align with the declaration of a climate and biodiversity emergency and prevent areas of Broadland, such as Helsden, from developments that intend to destroy woodland, green spaces and their associated ecosystems? Thank you. The decision not to replace the Ecology, Biodiversity and Tree Manager post align with the declaration of the climate and biodiversity emergency? Thank you.
we have put in place various other measures to be able to cover the requirements of that particular post. And I feel confident that we're able to satisfy the requirements through the measures that we've taken. As I said before, we're carrying out a baseline survey, and I just signed today the requirement, the funding for that, so that we have a baseline survey on which we can then monitor our progress in that respect.
Move on to question 12C. It's from Councillor Grant Nurden.
Thank you, Chairman. This council has always had the community at the heart of everything that we do. I recently had the pleasure of opening a facility in Freethorpe that was funded by a grant from this council. In my speech, I proudly referred to the council's slogan, Community at Heart, which resonated with those present, and I was asked for a copy of my speech for their records. On the 26th of June, I received an email from the communities team advising me that nominations for the Broadland Community at Heart 2025 Awards was open and would be closing on the 28th of August. These awards have in the past years been known as the Community at Heart Awards. So please can you explain why the awards are no longer referred to as the Community at Heart Awards? Who made the decision to remove at heart, and what consultation was had with members before its removal?
Thank you. Ask the leader to respond, please.
Okay, so it's absolutely, I completely agree, indisputable. Everybody here at Broadland, that means members and officers, we all have our community at heart, and that's why we do the work we do. We continue to do that. That is the basis of everything we do in this council. What we've done is updated our designs for the award, which I think you will see include a heart. We've taken the word heart and transformed it into an image. I hope you will agree, and I genuinely do think this, that the refresh is excellent. It incorporates the heart in a modern and creative way, demonstrating that we do indeed keep our community at heart.
Councillor Nurden, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. Just a brief thought that I had. In rebranding, has there been a cost involved in this that we have now taken on?
No, actually no, it's internal, and actually I'll be quite honest, I've thoroughly enjoyed being involved with it because the team who work on it are really very good, and you will see actually there's quite a trend coming out of the way our communications are looking, and I would argue they are one of the most up-to-date and good-looking sets of comms material you will see anywhere. So I think they worked really well. Cabinet and I were really pleased with them, and you know, I think we should all be proud of the way they've done it. So there's no additional cost. Can I just also add that the awards will be held on the 16th of October and the nominations are open until the 28th of August. So they can submit them by the council's website. I'm saying this in case anybody's listening as well, because you know anybody can nominate things. I really would like to see us, if you know somebody who merits an award in your community, do please nominate them. It's really important. And just to demonstrate that we really value all the work that people do in our communities, very often goes unsung. So I would happily ask you all, if you know somebody, get them nominated, because I think it's a well worthwhile thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Councillor Nurden, you have another question here. I don't know if you want to make it a bit smaller, because you've only got 2 minutes. Do you want to just give an overview of it, maybe?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, naturally I would. What I've tried to set out in that opening preamble is the historical, legal and statutory accounts that have always been, that the freedom key has always been a free public state. So my questions really are, were the council officers and the legal team involved in the preparation of the new lease agreement fully aware of the historical, legal and statutory background and the concerns of the Reedham community? And then the next part is, why did the council not involve or even consult with the community of Reedham in the deliberations over the new lease agreement? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councillor Booth to respond, please.
Okay, well, this is fairly technical, so hold with me. Part 1, the officers collated the historical record confirming Reedham Quay's long-standing use as a public stave and its registration as common land, which attracts statutory protections under the Commons Act 2006. These protections means that any work which impede access, such as fencing, structures or resurfacing, require prior consent from the Secretary of State. External legal advice confirmed that the 5 recognised rights of common, which are pasture, obviously grazing, piscary, fishing, turbary, cutting peat, estovers, taking wood, and rights in soil, for example, sand or gravel, do not include a right to moor a vessel. Mooring is therefore governed by the lease rather than by common law rights, provided it does not obstruct public access across the land. This advice also confirmed that the current lease lawfully permits the Broads Authority to introduce daytime and overnight mooring charges during the summer season, so long as any signage or activity does not enclose or restrict the common. Importantly, this is not a new provision. The ability for charging for mooring has existed since the original 1998 lease. The new lease continues that position but updates terms and clearer management obligations. The lease includes covenants requiring the Broads Authority to comply with all applicable laws and, where necessary, to obtain statutory consent before taking any works that might affect the common. If unauthorised works are carried out and later found to be unlawful, the Broads Authority will be responsible for removing them and restoring the land. Either party will also have a right to terminate the lease. In short, the negotiating team were briefed on the Quay's historic Free State status, its common land designation, and the sensitivities raised by residents. Part 2, the lease renewal was progressed under existing office delegations, consistent with normal estate management practice. Because the lease did not reduce public access or change the site's permitted use, there was no legal or policy requirements for public consultation. Negotiations were therefore conducted in confidence to protect the council's commercial position. That said, officers recognise that Reedham Quay is of exceptional local interest, given its common land status, its historic free use, and the strong views expressed at the 2014 public meeting. It is important to note that the 2014 consultation was undertaken by the Broads Authority, not the council, and any future engagement on mooring charges would similarly fall within the Broads Authority's remit as tenant and operating manager. While the lease does not compel consultation or notification, and the Broads Authority has now implemented mooring charges, officers consider it good practice for the Broads Authority to provide clear and reasonable public notices of any changes, both on-site and through its usual communication channels.
Thank you. Councillor Nerton, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Booth. That's a very comprehensive, and I'm very impressed with your response. However, it's the community of Reedham that have got these huge concerns, and they regard the imposition and the council's inclusion of specific charges in that lease agreement. They regard that as a failure of the Broadland District Council's custodial duties of that piece of land. That piece of land, in their opinion, was gifted to the then Flegg, and it's got that other name. And so my supplementary question would be, what could the council do to remedy its perceived failure to protect the public's right of free access to the publicly owned key to restore their faith in this council.
It's not the responsibility of the council to do any of that. We're just the least. We are just the landlord. It's the Broads Authority that have to. We negotiated the lease with the Broads Authority. Hasn't changed from the previous one, and it was a very long process to do it, I have to say. But it's not on the duty of the council to do any of that, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Wind that up. We have no motions. Item 14. I propose under section 100A of the Local Government Act of 1972 to exclude the press and public from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that the consideration of the item is likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Part 1, Schedule 12A of the Act. Do all members agree? Thank you.